Before I started making games, I was a very fearful and anxious person. I was very anxious about taking risks and doing scary things. Once I started making games, somehow I became more resilient. My skin got a little bit thicker. And that's because you have to deal with, critique online. You have to deal with reaching out to, famous YouTubers and talking to them on Skype, reaching out to famous game developers or just really successful people all across the world. That used to be, very nerve-wracking for me, the idea of talking to someone on the phone and getting advice about game development. But once I started making connections in the industry, suddenly, calling someone over the phone or even talking to PewDiePie, for some reason I just wasn't nervous. Also, when it comes to financial fears, always being scared of maybe
Нет, не надо.
not having a good season, not being able to pay the bills. for some reason, because that fear was so constant once I quit my job, that constant fear became less and less and less important to me. I used to wake up at 3 in the morning and sort of panic about finances and bills and how I was going to make sure my game got launched at a certain date so that I could actually make enough money to, pay for my family or the mortgage, blah, blah, blah. Now, I mean, obviously I had a good year, but I can say that fear has slowly gone down. Even when I wasn't sure about finances, that fear would just go away. So it really plays into the idea of being an entrepreneur in general. Entrepreneurs, after 3 years of being an entrepreneur, they have probably the thickest skin that sounds weird. They have a very thick skin compared to most people. So yeah, being an entrepreneur, being a game developer makes you stronger. The fourth reason why game development is the best job in the world is it's a creative explosion. Lately I've really been interested in code and software engineering. It's weird, the older I get, the more interesting code is and puzzle solving. I'm not great at it, but it's fun. My point in saying that is not only am I an artist and a 3D modeler and an illustrator and a musician, now I can also be a software engineer if I want to. So instead of hiring out a software engineer or contracting out work for the software engineering team, I can actually just do it myself if I choose to. It's really fun to be able to pick and choose what you want to do with game development, whether it's illustration, art direction, being a composer, writing a story, being an engineer. There's a ton of different skill sets that you can use in game development. Whereas in a lot of other industries, you're going to be pigeonholed into a very specific skill set. With game development, you're going to wear a lot of hats, and it's always really, really fun. So an example of this is last week, I really wanted to do YouTube. So I just live streamed a lot and did some YouTube content. That was really fun. And I like to package that with game development because I'm making games live. So I really enjoyed doing YouTube last week.
Что, не надо думаешь кушать? Что опять голодный? Не голодный, а так. Боел бы, боязниться. Проглот еще. Ну вас нафиг. Труе. То есть планировали, Пенёк. Развели кошки.
But, 2 weeks ago, I was really interested in doing 3D modeling, so I sort of just took a break from everything else and just did 3D modeling. Last year, I really loved writing music. It was a really good year for writing music, and I had a really good time doing it. So as you can see, I just sort of picked and chose, if that's the right phrase. I picked and chose. I picked what I wanted to do, basically. You're eventually going to need to do pretty much everything for your game, especially if you're a solo game developer. But you can choose when you want to do it. If you get bored, just jump to the next thing and then jump back when you're not bored. It's really fun doing all these different tasks with game development, and I can't think of another industry that really allows for that. The fifth and final reason why game development is the best job on earth is what I'm calling double dipping. Basically, I actually talked to my financial guy this week, and I talked to him on the phone, and I was telling him, you know, various revenue streams so that he could better help me understand how to operate my studio. And he basically said, Thomas, what you're doing is double dipping. And I said, what do you mean? He said, it might not be the right term, but in doing YouTube content while making your game, you're actually creating 2 revenue streams while only doing one task. So this is the same thing as like being a painter on the side of a street and getting tips, right? With YouTube content, live streaming game development, you know, I'm getting ad revenue while I'm making a game, and that game is eventually going to be sold and make some more revenue. So you've got multiple income streams while you make your game. So honestly, guys, I recommend if you're going to make games, see what live streaming does for you. It's encouraging to do it just because you have people hanging out with you while you work. But you know, if you have enough people watching, if you get enough views in your video, you can get a little bit of ad revenue as well. So indie game development allows for you to get revenue all over the place. Now you have to be smart and you have to be entrepreneurial, but if you guys do it long enough, I think I've been doing this for almost a decade, full-time for about 4 years, but making games for about a decade. Full-time for about 4 years, but making games for about a decade. I've slowly learned through the years how to sniff out financial opportunities and to turn my time into dollars. Now that doesn't mean I'm greedy or anything like that. All it means is that if I'm going to make games, I know that it's going to be challenging some seasons to make some income. So it's important for me to capitalize on any opportunity to make income, especially when there's an opportunity to what I'm calling double dip. Make income while also live streaming your game, or you know, doing YouTube content to help provide for your studio while you're not actually selling your game. So that's all I really have to say about why game development is the best job on earth. I know a lot of you are nervous right now. Things are weird in the world, especially with this virus. I encourage you to continue learning game development. Don't be nervous about the future right now. Just take the time that you have at home to study game development. Give it a shot. See what happens. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. Please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, do all those cool things. Talk to you later.
Pretty messy project. It was like a dumpster fire of a Unity project, and that caused a lot of problems with the console porting. But luckily, Do Games, they were awesome, and they helped a lot with fixing it, working with my work style. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And that was one of the original pack. So what's the one pro for? And that caused a lot of problems with the console porting. But luckily, Do Games, they were awesome, and they helped a lot with fixing it, working with my work style. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And that was one of the original pack. So what's the one pro for all those cons? Well, the one pro is you finished your game, and that's the most important thing ever. And it doesn't mean it's perfect, it just means it's presentable. So in this day and age, you all know that marketing, you have to do that concurrently. And so that's what I try to do. With a typical week, I would do about 3 hours of making a GIF and posting that GIF, and then doing that for like 12 to 18 months. And what I usually do every week was I'd share it on Twitter, usually using the hashtags Screenshot Saturday and then Made with Unity on Friday. Unity retweeted me several hashtags. And what I usually do every week was I'd share it on Twitter, usually using the hashtags Screenshot Saturday and then Made with Unity on Friday. Unity retweeted me several times. And that's probably how I got like a third of my followers. I posted on Tumblr with hashtags, the Reddit Game Dev, there's Screenshot Saturday, threads in that. And yeah, at the beginning did have a lot more marketing work. It was top heavy in that regard. But that's why I would encourage you guys to make your trailer as soon as possible, create your website as soon as possible, and create your Steam page with tags. And so you can just get those organic wish lists. So that's what I tried to do. It just took a long time as a drop-by-drop accumulation. Now with the marketing, I wanted to first focus on finding your hook before development, which people ask me what was like the magic ingredient that your game was able to resonate with people so much. And this one kind of happened by accident. The cynical side is it's like if you took two popular things, people would love it. But if you take a brand new original thing, then people they don't know how to react. And so with the first tree, I took my love of Journey, and there were people out there who were fans of anything that had a fox in it. And I picked a fox because it was there was a personal connection. It was my wife's family name. But people they marketed it for me because they loved the idea so much. And so I don't think, I think the optimistic side of that is, I think it's good to remind gamers of things that they love. I don't think it's a bad thing. The other thing is because, I come from an artist background, visuals first development took priority. And that was something that the makers of Ooblets said as well. They tried to make GIFs as soon as possible so they could market it. And that's why I would encourage you guys to get the website and trailer and Steam page up. I wouldn't even waste time on screenshots. When I would share screenshots online, GIFs were shared 10 times more. And the best part of all this is doing this first is it gives you data. Like what game ideas, what scenes from your game resonate best with people. And that's the data you can use when you make your trailer. And then you can make a really killer trailer because you have the data of that post has so many likes, people really like that shot. So anyway, what is the point of all this? What's the call to action for all that marketing? Well, my plan was with the email list and the wish list and something I called the social media blitz, which happens on launch day, I would get on the new and trending tab. That was the goal of all this, was to gather those wish lists. And it's because of, in this day and age, how important Steam is with day one purchases and even first hour purchases, because that's how you please the algorithm gods, and that's how you get on the front page of Steam. And you want to get on the front page of Steam because the amount of traffic is insane. Even with a viral Reddit post, which had hundreds of thousands of views, the Steam traffic on the first day, I think that's the first 2 days, it was 88% of everything. And so the new and trending tab, you need to get on it. And that was my goal with that. And that's why I went to Reddit, was to get a huge influx of traffic to catch the algorithm's attention. And so that's kind of what happened. And that's what's happened with a lot of other indie games. There's a lot of great GIFs that have been shared on the gaming subreddit, which has 20 million subscribers. And if you know where to look, you can find good examples. I know a data scientist, he analyzed a lot of the top Reddit posts. And he mentioned that there's usually time involved, like I've been working on my game for 3 years, or there's emotion in the title. Like even this "What the Golf" GIF, this says for people who hate golf, catches people's attention. I think it's important not to be a sales guy, but just be like a friend, showing off something that you're really proud of. Part of this, I guess, part of what I learned is that it's not just Reddit. There's a lot of places you can post, and I had to do it a lot. Just in 1 year, I posted 41 times on Imgur, and I'd say most of those didn't do well, but then a few would gain traction and get on the front page of Imgur, and then that's what would help build up my wish list and my email list. So here's some examples of good Reddit posts that I posted. As a kid, I always dreamed of releasing a game on a Nintendo console. Today it happened. After 2 years of work and no knowledge of code, I still launched my Fox adventure game today, The First Tree. It doesn't seem like much, but getting footprints working in my game is huge for me, which it really was. And this one has kind of a comedy angle. Stress testing bunny herds in a game with unforeseen consequences. That one was retweeted by David Bowie's son on Twitter, so that got a lot of attention. Here's some posts that didn't do well. The first tree launch trailer, releasing on Steam September 14th. Super Fox, the first tree. Points of light towards the first tree. Some other things that helped me is I've never seen a post on the gaming server to do well that links to a store page or even a website. Always link to a GIF. And then in the comments you can have a call to action, just one link to your store page. I've had comments removed for linking to too many store pages because it reeked of self-promotion. And that leads me to a problem a lot of developers have with Reddit is the self-promotional rules. And I would say it just takes a little bit of preparation, but that yes, you can use Reddit. You just need to create an account 1 to 3 months prior to your launch. Hopefully you're posting more before that. And you just have to remember that only 10% of your submissions can be about your project. Comments don't count. You have to submit things. So that's what I did. Like I loved music. I loved the game dev subreddit. So I'd post once a day of stuff I liked so that I was legal. And then I would say remember the call I liked so that I was legal. And then I would say remember the call to action. I did do on my website, I did an email list that was like one-time email, no spam. I was a little worried, like I hate spam, and I thought that would help get more emails, but comparing my numbers to other developers, I didn't see any difference in that. So I would say just say you won't spam them, and just get those emails, because those are the people, those are your like dedicated fans, and they'll probably buy the game the first couple hours of launch. This is my...
Никто не покупает. Губаева Что тебя тут говорили? Всяко. Не делал, не делал. Эй, кем он там говорит? О, так вот. Более-менее году опять что это? Не знаю. Надо играть надо что-то. Сосед мешает жить. Весело, ты чё? Пока не весело. лицо прям тебе смеется. И что бы тебе буду продавать? Ну где, да. Я не умею делать даже это ничего. И не собираюсь учиться даже. Я понял. Ну то есть, да, неприлично. Остатки, может это просто пережиток, что я верю в силу классическую, то есть что тебе нужно какой-то вот образование, какие-то, что-то вот надо, ну, понимаешь, по-своему, да, ну, то есть, ну, да, то есть не взял, заиграл, да, не важно, уже про себя, не будь рэпом тогда занимайся, понимаешь, видишь, разница какая-то, где она разница, вот объясни мне, да? Почему не надо что-то уметь, прежде чем что-то продавать, да, ну, хорошо, а я не хочу, мне неинтересно пытаться даже делать это, потому что ты будешь и этим заниматься, и все, и тебя не будет уже классической музыки, я понимаю. Да. Вот видишь, в чем страх? Потому что она не продается. Классическая музыка, она не может продаваться, я понимаю, да. Только какой-то, да, понимаю. Да. Ну, понимает она себя. Потому что это уже халтура, это уже не музыка, это уже халтура просто музыкальная. Да, для училок, да. А я не такой, я из другого теста сделан, понимаешь. Но научиться мне надо именно этому, понимаешь, дилемма. Оно может продаваться как-то без слов, понимаешь, да. Только исходя из того, что в музыке есть. Motion, soul, там, spirit, как угодно, да, history, аромат прошлых современности, наследие, гениев, там, или кого-нибудь, что хочешь говорить. Да, короче, исходя из того, чему учат мастера этих скрипичных и прочих, да. Но очень-очень, так сказать, да, это все ушедшее уже в прошлое, на самом деле. Это тоже, вот видишь, это лучше. То есть как бы есть зачем, да. Вот я и говорю, ты не представляешь, сколько круто это, но наоборот, я не так думаю просто, да. совпало, я понял. Учишься играть, тебе во Францию возьмут, что там вот балет, они же снова все во Франции, видишь, да? То есть они, да. Вот и все отменят, и они еще балет будут танцевать свой, даже когда уже никто не будет танцевать. Кстати, почему там на лошадях не ездят до сих пор? Не знаю. Это немножко разница, это не культура все-таки, да? Это тоже шик определенный, да? Баркарова. Не знаю. Я понял. То есть как бы все равно пианисты, говоря, пианисты еще, да, там еще можно поучиться чему-нибудь. Еще ну, одно другому не вредит, в конце концов. Это тоже, ты неужели понимаешь, это музыка, опера, балет, это там, да, вот она и есть самая сок, и она живая еще пока что. Ну, для основы, ну, еще, она уже не продается, она уже халтура, потому что сейчас или только у нас в стране. Она как бы и народный предатель. Нет, не пропаганда. А, только там за Путина заставили. Ну ничего страшного. Все равно нравится. Ну просто у нас она другим путем шла. У нас коммерция не развивалась так. Для опер. Ничего страшного, ничего теперь сделаешь. Делать по-западному, как уж, ну да, ну, не знаю я, короче, думайте сами, ну по-русски делать, можно сделать по-русски так, чтобы международно на Западе продалось, чтобы, и без матрешек можно говорить, ну, хотя они помогут, наверное, да, сами. Интересно, потому что мы тоже, смотри, в Китай приедешь, там же нигде не будет этих, ну, погоды, да, то есть такой же страна, как страна, да, понимаешь, да, то есть, да. Вот и как ты там проникнешь в дух этой культуры, да? Как бы, да, ну, не на пустом месте, наверное, да, водки, матрешки там, балалайки, да, ну, да, ну, ты разбирайся сам, короче, дворе нету даже, расщипленный, да. Не знаю.